Welcome to Tennis with Evelyn, and today I'm going to talk about the best tennis rackets for beginners and league players. And this is specifically for those beginners who have said, hey, I really like tennis. I want to play in the league. I want to make a bigger commitment to this game. And also for league players who maybe have had the same tennis racket for the past 10, 20, or 30 years. I sometimes see players with rackets from the 90s, and you're probably saying, well, why do I need a new tennis racket? Well, because the technology has changed so much. It is so much better. The dampening, the stability, and it allows you to be able to play tennis so much more. I play tennis almost every day, and it's probably because I've got this wonderful new racket, which I'll show off in a moment. It also reinvigorates your game. It just does something to your game. Just ask Stefano Tsitsipas, who was recently a winner in a tournament because he went and switched his racket. Of course, he's switched it back again to maybe try to reinvigorate himself. But it does. The rackets nowadays are so much better than they used to be. I've been playing tennis for over 40 years, and the racket that I play with now is the Boom Pro. It's the Head Boom Pro, and this racket was out. This is a version of it from 2024, which is the second one. So this is a really, really new racket. And again, I've been playing for 40 years. Why do I like this? It's got that Acidic 2.0, which is a stabilizer. It's got a wonderful dampening system. And I demoed a lot of rackets before I made the decision to go with this racket. And that's what I'm advising. I'm just advising that you demo rackets. This is a recommendation for demos. I am not endorsed by anybody, and I am not trying to sell you anything. It's mainly one league player to another, to a beginner, to try to help you try to figure out what's the best way in should I even go and get a new racket? And I always say yes. Now, I do know that these are the ones that I'm giving the recommendation on for demoing. They are the high end, top of the line. They're usually range in price from, I know it's kind of expensive, but $250 to maybe $300 at the absolute top. And I do advise that if you're going to demo these and you're going to be really serious about your game, that you do look into those top of the line ones, because they really are much better. The technology is really great. Also, keep in mind the strings that you sometimes when you demo a racket, and if it has bad strings in it, well, it's not going to really perform. Places like Tennis Warehouse and Tennis Express, Midwest, try those. These are these major retailers. They may allow for you to have the strings put in them, and that will really help a lot. I like to go to my local store. That's where I demo. That's where I demo this racket. And I think that I'm always going to be in favor of those little small stores, those tennis shops. Try and see if you can get them to put some better strings in it. Okay, so which rackets am I going to give you some advice on? I'm going to give three types of rackets: the arm-friendly rackets, I call them the Le Bleu, the power rackets, and then an all-around racket. And it's kind of interesting that all the power rackets are blue for whatever reason. Okay, this is just recommendations to demo, but these are the ones that I would recommend that you take a look at. And for the arm friendly, I'm going to say the Wilson Clash. This is I think it's a really pretty racket. It came out this very early this year, I believe. This version of it is their third version of it, and it's a black with a little bit of orange and red. It is known for being very arm friendly. So if you have any arm issues, this is the racket that you should probably take a look at. It's a flexible racket, but they have put a lot of technology in it to make it a little bit more powerful and a little bit more of a performance racket. Now, the other ones that I would take a look at if you're really, really into arm friendly, you need an arm friendly racket, look at anything within the Pro Kinex line. All right, the next one, I was mentioning the blue ones, the power rackets, and there are a lot of them. I went with what I believe is basically the flagship of them, and that is the Babolat Pure Drive. It was just released, the latest version this January, and Babolat did a good job of listening to their players. They made this one, it's not quite as stiff, it's a little more flexible, but it's one of those rackets that does everything really well, but it's also a very powerful racket. I think probably the prettiest racket out is the new Yonex E-Zone, and I bet Madison Keys does as well. She won the Australian Open. Unfortunately, she had to have it blacked out because she was still under contract with Wilson, but you could tell that she was using a Yonex because those are those very distinctive rectangular rackets. And they're very pretty. I saw someone at the club playing with it, and it's a very pretty racket, very a blue pretty racket. Then there's the Wilson Ultra, and if you're a fan of Jack Draper, there's the Dunlop 500. Maybe you'll get your serve just like his if you use that racket. All right, the next one is the all-around racket, and that is the Head Speed. That racket is just, in my opinion, the best racket. If someone asks me what racket should I either buy or look at or take a look at, the Head Speed is the racket to look at. It has everything. It's very plush. It's very similar in feel to something like the Wilson Clash, which is known for being plush. And it's also got great spin ability, control, and power. It really does everything very, very well. You might remember this. This is the racket that is endorsed by Novak Djokovic. There's an all-black version of his, the Legend, and the current #1 Yannick Sinner. And he just gifted the new Pope, Pope Leo, that he had a private audience with, this Head Speed. So if, hey, at least he gave the Pope a really good racket to try out. I think this is a great one. The other ones that are in it in this category would be the Wilson Blade. You see all the pros playing with that. That is that green one from Wilson. And the Technofiber T-Fight. If you're a fan of Iga Swiatek, you'll recognize that white with the red and the blue on it. So you're asking me now, wait a minute, what about my favorite player? What about my favorite color? Should I use a racket that is endorsed by my favorite player? Because remember, Yannick Sinner, he probably does not play with the retail version of this. It's probably much heavier, and those pro stocks are oftentimes very different. They're just endorsing these rackets. They're not necessarily playing with that exact version. But it does give you a connection with them. And there's a reason why they do have those endorsements. I'll tell you, there was a gentleman the other day at the club, and he was just bragging about his Pure Aero 98. He was saying, I'm hitting my forehand just like, and he was showing me, I'm hitting it just like Carlos Alcaraz. Well, I probably doubt he really is hitting it, but isn't it magical? He really feels like he's hitting it like him, and it's going to make him want to emulate Carlos Alcaraz, was a great person to try to emulate, and probably watch what he does and get the technique correct or just like his. I think that's wonderful, and it does give you a connection with him. I have bought rackets because of that. Some of them, some have been a good idea, some have been a not so good idea. But I have done that. And also the paint job, the color. Should I do that? Should I buy it based on the color? Well, I play with a really great junior player who's gotten a college scholarship, and her favorite color is blue, and she will not budge from that. Everything that she has is blue. And fortunately for her, the Wilson Ultra, what she plays with, is the absolute perfect racket for her. Talk about serendipity there. It just works out for her that blue is the right racket for her. And that could work for you as well. There's a reason why they do have those paint jobs. The other one last point that I wanted to make is I was giving advice on the 100 square inch 16 by 19, which has kind of become the standard size for these high end or high end retail There are smaller ones, the 98 or 97 square inch, which are sometimes heavier, and then there's the larger ones that are 102 or 104 or even larger. The rule of thumb, and this is the basic rule of thumb, the larger headed rackets are more forgiving, obviously, because you've got a bigger sweet spot, but they may not have as good a control. And it's conversely for the others. The smaller head, they may have wonderful control, but they may not have as big a sweet spot, may not be quite as forgiving. So keep that in mind. I hope that this helped you. I hope that you go out and demo some of these wonderful rackets. And please come back to my channel. If you like this, please click like and subscribe. And I hope to see you again at my channel.